I genuinely believe the dumbest thing that you can do in your life right now is to do steroids. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Hi, my name is Milan. I share my lessons here on YouTube. And today we're going to discuss anabolic androgenic steroids. And without further ado, let's begin. So, why do steroids at all? What is the upside here? Well, when we're talking about steroids, we're talking about increased muscle mass, increased bone density, increased confidence, everything that has to do with testosterone, basically increased strength, and so on and so on. When it comes to steroids, when you just look at the upsides, right, you only see the benefits. But steroids do, in fact, have a lot of negative side effects, such as cosmetic side effects, internal, or you're gonna fuck up your entire organism from the inside out, and everything in between, the mental, the emotional side effects. But when it comes to steroids, if I had to be honest, I'd honestly do them for the strength boost and for the productivity boost as well, since you can be more productive. I mean, whenever you're kind of depressed or kind of moody, you don't have that deep focus, you have a lot of brain fog, that may be due to low testosterone. So what I would do to combat that, if we lived in heaven, let's say, I'd honestly just be on steroids 24/7 and I'd be more productive. But that's besides the point. What I wanted to say is steroids have a lot of negative side effects that most people don't know. And this is something that I don't like about steroid users, is you ask them if they even know the side effects of steroids. Like, you tell them, bro, do you know steroids genuinely decrease your IQ? And they're like, what? Zoya, I didn't know that. I didn't know that trenbolone is toxic for the brain. Bro, it literally is. It literally lowers your IQ. And what the current trends are when it comes to steroids is that people do them not in the sense of TRT and such. No, they take extremely high doses that give a lot more results, sure. But how much results you gain, that much you're gonna suffer when it comes to the side effects. So sure, taking 200 milligrams of testosterone is one thing, but taking 800 milligrams of testosterone plus 1,000 milligrams of trenbolone, that's another story. And so when it comes to steroids, I wanted to talk about some of the side effects and why I personally believe that taking steroids is the dumbest thing that you could do right now in this present day and age, since technology is genuinely becoming better day by day. And so you're gonna be in a very good position in a few years. Genuinely, I mean that. So when it comes to side effects, a lot of people, myself included, only care about the cosmetic side effects. Like, you tell somebody that is currently on cycle, like, bro, do you realize that your heart is literally going to increase in size? And by the way, that can kill you. They're like, yeah, man, I don't really care about that. I can just do steroids. I'll die when I die, and so on and so on. But you tell them about the cosmetic side effects, and that's a whole different story, apparently. Oh my God, I'm going to have acne when I'm on test. I don't know what to do. Bro, the acne and so on, those cosmetic side effects are literally just the beginning, not the end of the side effects. For example, if your whole body is poisoned from the inside, that's gonna, how would I say that? That's going to appear on the outside. When you have acne, that doesn't really mean that's the problem. No, that means you have a symptom of an even bigger problem. Your kidneys, your liver, your heart, honestly, everything in between, your whole muscular system, and so on and so on. And by the way, your body isn't really meant to carry all of that muscle, and your body isn't really meant to have that much testosterone in you, but that's a whole different story. I will say, however, the cosmetic side effects of steroids are real. Like, you do get hair loss, increased hair growth in places that you don't really want hair. For example, somebody like myself that has a lot of DHT, I grow hair in places that I really shouldn't grow hair at all, like mid-back, upper traps, back of the neck, here. on the inside of my forearms, sometimes here on the bicep, and so on. If I started to do steroids, bro, I would literally look like Chewbacca 2.0, the human version of a Chewbacca. And I've actually seen this in person. There's this guy at my gym that I totally know is on something. Bro, he has a beard that genuinely goes up to here. Like, he has full-on beard growth on his cheek, which just tells you what steroids can do. Now, not everybody is going to have the same side effects when it comes to cosmetics. Somebody's going to have terrible acne, and not in the sense of, yeah, they're going to have a few pimples here and there. No, what I mean when it comes to acne from steroids is literally their entire upper arm here and also their entire back. When you've seen some of the photos that people post when they're on stuff like testosterone, masterone, primobolan, stuff like that, you're genuinely terrified of steroids. I mean, I honestly wouldn't even do steroids just based on the cosmetic side effects. But let's also talk about something that is much more important. The internal side effects. I don't know how to say that properly. It's not the internal side, rather how your organism reacts to steroids as a whole. So basically, if you did not know, your heart is a muscle that pumps blood 24/7. And so maybe you did not know the fact, but steroids make all of your muscles bigger. Yes, all of them. And so taking stuff like DECA or D-ball, these steroids, testosterone as well, of course, these steroids increase your heart size. And there's actually this case that I've read about a certain bodybuilder. A normal heart, I believe, weighs around 300 to eventually 400 grams. This bodybuilder had a heart that weighed in at 2.5 pounds or a kilogram, my man. Which just tells you how dangerous steroids can really be. Your heart should be efficient, and so when it actually grows, that's not really a good thing. Also, steroids, you fuck up your liver. Mostly steroids that you actually ingest through your mouth, or rather oral steroids, but also it could happen from injections as well. I will say, however, that your liver can regenerate, but something that cannot regenerate are your kidneys. Once you fuck up your kidneys from steroids, you don't do regular blood work and so on, you're gonna be fucked for the rest of eternity. And if you get kidney failure, you're gonna have to do dialysis for the rest of your life. And so, from my point of view, that's not really a good thing. Also, people don't really like doing blood work when they're on steroids. They're like, yeah, man, it takes a lot of time to do all of that blood work. I have to check my liver enzymes, my blood, and so on and so on. Which, bro, if you're gonna take such a dangerous step as steroids, you may as well do it responsibly and I guess safely, but there's no safe way with steroids. When somebody asks a guy who's on gear, how do you do steroids safely? What's the safest cycle you know? Bro, that's like asking what's the safest amount of cocaine to do on a night. There is no safe amount. There is just less safe and more safe, but that's besides the point. Also, something that I want to talk about is the emotional or the mental side effects. Every single steroid has specific side effects that's connected to it. For example, trenbolone makes you extremely paranoid or maybe gives you a god complex. I also heard cases where guys have gotten extremely depressed when they're on trenbolone and everything in between, to be honest. When you're on such high amounts of gear, or honestly moderate amounts of gear, you get side effects from that are very connected to your psyche. And also, steroids literally degenerate your brain. So what can you do about that, right? And it's literally the case of, in my opinion at least, it's literally the case of rolling the dice. So some people genuinely have zero mental, zero cosmetic side effects, but when they check their bloods, they realize their liver is fucked up, or they realize that they have extremely high blood pressure. Some people, when they get on gear, they will have every single side effect in the book and they'll have to come off. There are rare instances of guys that are on gear that act to it very well. For example, a lot of modern bodybuilders are that way. Ronnie Coleman, from what I've heard, Jay Cutler, these bodybuilders that were extremely jacked but had no visible side effects, they're a part of the elite group of guys that have good genetics for steroids. But I will say, however, the most important thing is that you fuck up your health when you're on gear. And that's something that I want to finish this video with. Everything in this life you can gain back. If you've lost a house, let's say, you can eventually work up to getting something close to that. You lost your phone, okay, you'll buy a new one. But your health, once you fuck up your health, it's really, really difficult to get it back. Something that you also cannot gain back is your time. And steroids do have a increased likelihood of killing you earlier, which is great in my opinion. But I will say, however, that it's genuinely not safe and it's not worth doing, especially when you look at the side effects that I've just mentioned in this video. I will say, however, there is hope in the sense of they're currently testing these very high-grade, pharma-grade inhibitors for myostatin and activin A. These are hormones that limit your muscle building potential. And so an inhibitor is something that actually doesn't allow a certain hormone to react. In the sense, if you limit the amount of myostatin in your body, you're gonna be more jacked. I believe in a few years, we're gonna have the technology available to take these inhibitors and have minimal to zero side effects. And when you realize this fact, to be honest, you just get disgusted by the concept of steroids. I will say though, taking something that was literally produced in 1960s or 1970s, by the time 1980s rolled around, most modern steroids were actually quote unquote designed. And so taking something that was literally made 50 years ago is not a good deal in my opinion. I mean, imagine using a phone, let's say, from 1980. Oh yeah, phones didn't really exist back then. So let's say computer. Imagine using a computer that had 2 megabytes of RAM memory. You wouldn't really have a great time, would you? And so when you look at the fact that technology is constantly developing, pharmaceutical drugs are getting better and better every single day, you look at the question of steroids and just say, nah, this is not really worth it. So thank you for watching this video. If you want to, you can watch this video, and I'd highly appreciate it if you can subscribe to the channel here. And as always, see you at the top.